gorgeous women. It is Kelly Harrell, financial feminist and founder of Money Tree Academy, coming to you again today with the next in my video series around how women can transform their outcomes with wealth. And in this series, we'll be exploring lots of different dynamics of things that could be disempowering you in terms of your ability to build wealth and what you can do about it. Today's topic, as you just saw, is women's income inequality gap. And why that's important today is because just yesterday, April 4th, was the Gender Equal Pay Day. What is the Gender Equal Pay Day? If you're wondering that, that is the day into this year that women must work on top of their work last year to earn the same amount of money that men earned just working last year. So men work January through December, but women have to work January through December plus all the way into April 4th of this year to earn a comparable income. I wanted to show you a chart that I pulled from the American Community Survey. It's 2007 data, but still applicable. And this shows the income inequalities across states. The darker states are the ones that are closer to the 80% difference. The lighter colored states are the ones, or the lightest colored states are the ones that are 73% income difference. So women only earn 73% or 73 cents on the dollar to what men earn. And all the other colored states in between fall in between the 80% and 73% mark on average. So I also wanted to just quickly show you too, and I found these on Wikipedia, that across industries, so you can see a lot of industries, though I don't see like the technology industry there, although that might be the one on information. But you can see these numbers here on the side that show, I have the hardest time doing this with a screen sometimes. There we go. So you can kind of see what those numbers are. That a lot of times it's still falling below 80% in terms of what women are earning in comparison to men. So why is this even happening? Is it really that women are just being completely offered 80 cents on the dollar to men? Well, historically, that has been the case. However, there is a lot of growing evidence to suggest that in today's modern age, especially with some of the changes in legislation, that is not as applicable, especially in the early days of her career. So how is this other data still coming about? Well, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. So let's just dive quickly into that. I won't go deeply into any of these today, but I just want to increase your awareness again so that you can start to do your own investigations and learn more about what is going on and what might actually be affecting you. So in a woman's early part of her career, in today's kind of society and especially in the corporate world, evidence is suggesting that women and men in the early parts of their career are indeed paid pretty much on par with each other. So if you're earlier in your career and that's your experience, cool. There's a lot of other women who are having the same kind of experience. But where does it go awry? Because inevitably, it likely will go awry for you. So there's some factors. Let's just take a look at what some of those are. So one of them could be that in terms of negotiation, women by and large are uncomfortable with negotiating for more salary or asking for a raise because they have a focus on maintaining relationships and not rocking the boat. And there can also be some sensations in there around, do I deserve more? And so in terms of that, women are less likely to push for the amounts of income that they do deserve to have, where men could be going into those same meetings and negotiating for quite a bit more. Women tend to think that they need to be perfect, before they ask for more money. So they are trying to back themselves up with all sorts of facts around why they're amazing. Whereas men will tend to walk into the meetings, ask for more, and then figure and assume that they'll prove their worthiness of it along the way. So there's just some very different belief models that exist underneath the surface for men and women in terms of what they perceive as their dollar value and what they should be paid and what would feel fair to them. So perhaps notice what yours are, what kinds of things you walk into these meetings with if you work for someone else. Now, if you are self-employed, the same thing can happen. So when you are negotiating or asking for a certain rate or fee from a client, what are your beliefs around what your value is? And what are your ability to negotiate at the table with the client or the customer? So a second piece that can impact a woman's wealth and well-being can be the marital dynamics. If you are in a serious relationship with a man, whether you're married or unmarried, one of the impacts can be one that's kind of gender acculturation, and that is to make less than him. Would your man feel disempowered if you were to make more than him? Survey your friends. Find out, because chances are a lot of them would say, yeah, it might affect a little bit of things, maybe most notably in the bedroom. So there can be issues like that come up subconsciously, and unless a couple has an ability to really dialogue and just explore these things with each other, it can be a kind of a subconscious limiter that is happening in a woman's mind. So those relationship dynamics between men and women. There can also be cultural expectations that come from your family, maybe from your religious community, or it could be just your community in general. It could be coming from your spouse's parents. It could be coming from your friends. What if you make more than your friends? What are they going to think of you? Remember, women are very relationship oriented. So if women are pushing to have more money through their business or through their job, it can bring up those kinds of dynamics. Well, who do you think you are to ask for that? So just, again, observe and notice if those are factors that are impacting you. Another piece can be around the child gap. So if a woman does become pregnant, whether she's married or will become a single mom, there is often, not always, but a choice to stay home with the children. Now let's compare her to him. So if a woman decides to stay home with a child, let's say she starts out at $50,000 and he starts out at $50,000, and they both work and they're 5 years into their career and that's where their income is. And she decides to take a break. And she takes a break for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Meanwhile, she's been staying home with the kids. Her last income was at $50,000. His now advances up to $60,000. And now there's a $10,000 pay gap. So she comes back in and her career is already behind his because she chose to stay home. She had unpaid labor as a mother and perhaps housekeeper and perhaps bill payer and all the other hats that a stay-at-home mother tends to wear. And his career has continued to advance along with all the benefits and employer contributions to retirement that are tied to as a percentage to his salary. But let's just say there's just a $10,000 gap between the two of them. And she goes back to work. She's making 50, he's making 60, and they go on and they work for 30 more years. If that $10,000, that difference between the two of them, was invested at 7% over the next 30 years, the difference is staggering. $1 million. And I don't mean like $1 million, not like that. I mean $1 million, cold hard cash. That is automatically a difference. She can work her butt off just as hard as he does, and she's still going to come out $1 million behind. Now, let's just say the difference was only $4,000. Well, still, that's still a cool $400K difference. That's shocking. That's the cost of staying home. And yes, staying home, I've done it. I did it for many years. And believe me, I know what that cost feels like. So I don't want you to think if you choose to stay home that I'm saying that's a wrong choice, because I'm not saying that at all. It is something that I valued tremendously and that I, would not change. I love being home with my kids. And yeah, there's a dollar cost that's associated with it. But I'm aware of it, and I have made other choices to make up for those differences, and all those differences, and I will explore and share more of that with you in coming videos. But for today, we're just going to leave that on the table right there. Another piece that can come up can just be the inner beliefs around not deserving anything more. A lot of times our beliefs around our worthiness and our abundance feelings with money come out of our childhood prior to the age of 12, and often starting as early as 1 or even 2 years old. And our beliefs get formulated at that time and can impact what we sense as our worthiness. So observing and noticing what some of your family's money stories were and what women's economic value is in the world. Those are other factors that go into play around this. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about that, and I'm trying to think of what it was. But at the very least, there are a number of factors, and I have only scratched the surface of the factors that tend to creep in terms of that gender pay gap. Now, I don't ever like to just present all the problems without also bringing up some things that you can start to do about it. So one thing that you can do about it is just increase your awareness around where gender pay gaps may be existing and what might be causing them. So some of the things that we talked about today are worthwhile perhaps exploring if any of it piqued your interest in learning more. Another thing is just to look and examine what your beliefs are. And again, what the family stories were within your family and what women's economic value is. Another piece is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when it comes down to making sales, asking for a deal to be closed, asking or negotiating for salary, do your homework. Learn how to do these things, master these skills, and get comfortable with asking for what you're worth. Now, a lot of times, too, I think women don't completely understand what their value is, and it's one of the things that I really love to work with women on, and that is, what is their value? And I take women on this super deep journey in terms of understanding how others view them, what their personal brand is. That is a tremendous impact on a woman's sense of value in the community around her. I also help women look at what their own inner values are and what they need to honor. We do a tremendous journey around their passions, interests, skills, and talents. And then we look at what the marketplace even wants, and so we find ways to marry those things up. And it's just so fun and eye-opening for women to understand how their gifts and who they are as women actually has tremendous economic value. In fact, though I mostly work with women or entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, just from the corporate side of things, it's just a little tidbit here that on the Fortune 500 companies, the ones who have more women that sit on their board actually are more profitable and have greater returns for their stockholders. So I love that little factoid because it just starts to point to that fact that when women are part of organizations and women are contributing to outcomes, we bring a whole different dynamic. And unless a woman walks into the negotiations knowing exactly what makes her awesome, it's hard to stand up for what you believe your value, your economic value, and that you can bring to the table or to any kind of client or organization, what that is. So that's another piece that one can start to explore. Another one is, just increase your communications with those around you. Get comfortable with talking around about money. Find out what your friends are making. See if you can get a sense of what the men around you are making. If you're in an industry of any sort, whether entrepreneurial or corporate, there's a lot that can be discovered online, and just to start to get a sense so that you're working at least with a ballpark and know and like what you're worth, and get comfortable with stepping into owning that dollar value that yeah, you're worth that completely. Another one is I'm looking at my notes here, sorry. I guess go for no. That's another thing that I teach my clients, is to learn how to get comfortable with going for no. Like, ask for things that you totally expect you're going to get a no for, and sometimes you actually get it, and it's just so surprising. And the feeling is so amazing when all these people start saying yes. So when you get really comfortable with going for no, because we tend to spend all this energy of trying to avoid getting a no. So if instead we focus on saying, I want a no, and I'm going to ask for things to get the no, and then you get a yes, it is crazy. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you as something else that could be done. And I guess the other thing is just be prepared to with responses, effective, calculated responses when somebody pushes back on you. So let's say you've asked for something and they say, well, no, I don't want to pay that. Take note of what objections could be. Anticipate those objections and prepare your responses in advance so that you walk in with a whole backpack of reasons why you're awesome and why you deserve to be paid what you're asking for. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm out of breath. I get too excited about these things, and I have a million things to say about it, as you can probably tell. But I just want to leave it at that, and I promise I'll go more into each of these topics in forthcoming videos. But I just wanted to give you an overview, because yesterday was the the income inequality pay day, and that's something that women's awareness needs to get increased around, and men's awareness too. So if you're married, if you have male friends who are bosses or in any kind of hiring position or even in human resources, engage them in dialogue about this. Get them into the conversation too, because it's not just our row to hoe. It's not just for us to try and bring about these income equalities. We need the men in our lives and in our worlds and in our working worlds, personal, private, all of that, social, all of them to start to understand where some of these gender inequities arise. Because otherwise, I mean, I've got clients who tell me, that their boyfriends and their husbands tell them things like, well, you just need to work harder. That's why you don't have money. That's not fair, and that's not right. Because there are so many systemic things that can be built in, and often are built in, that do this, that create these disempowering situations over which women don't feel like they have a lot of control, or they don't even realize are there. When we bring these kinds of issues to light and conversation, things start to change. So I'll leave it at that. Again, this is Kelly Harrell, financial feminist and founder of Money Tree Academy. And if you'd like to learn more and stay on top of what I'm doing, you can go to moneytreeacademy.com, and I will be posting my videos there. If you'd like to subscribe to my newsletter, I can update you when the next videos become available. You can also check out a couple of tools there I have around learning more about your money mindset and how to grow your money tree. That's it for now. Bye.